Welcome to Ascend, Fall 2021. It's been a little different over the past couple semesters just because of life and COVID and how all of that happened and things like that. But we're back to normal routine. So kind of let me talk you through what this semester looks like. This will be different than most other small groups that you go to. This is all based on the ability we have to train up new leaders in the area of creative arts. And so you have a booklet right here. This booklet is your booklet. The one you received tonight is the one that you will have all semester long. So I encourage you, put your name on it, put it in a place that you'll remember, even if you put it in the back pocket of the seat of your car, just so you know where that is every time, or your glove compartment, or somewhere you're going to remember where it is, and you're going to bring it in every time, because we will use this book every week. So we'll use the majority of the book tonight, and I'll kind of walk you through. There's 3 sections to the book. The first one is the intro, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight, the leadership guide, and kind of the expectations and things that we hold as values in creative arts. The second section you're going to see is the teaching sessions, and these are the weekly lessons that we'll do. So when you come in at I promise you it'll be 4 o'clock next week. That was not my fault that I was late, but it's not it's my wife's birthday, so I won't throw her under the bus either. We'll blame it on the Starbucks lady, okay? We'll just say that. 4 o'clock we will have worship, and then we will roll into a teaching session. And I will teach most of them, but I also will give Sam and Zach, and trying to encourage Carrie Anna to also be a part of the teaching team. And even Hannah, if she wants to. I have to talk her into it. But I want to, first of all, let you know that our creative crew, our creative team, leaders, staff are the best that any church could have under one roof. Zach is all heart. I mean, he not only loves Jesus, but he loves this church, he loves our staff, and he loves what he does. And I love his heart about that. He's going to figure out anything he can. He'll fix anything that he can. And if he doesn't know how to, he's going to find someone who does. And we've got a great team, and he's really created such an atmosphere of family with our tech team, and really grateful for him. Sam has really added some value to our team, especially on the instrumental side, not only playing keys, but also coaching into some of our young leaders. Some of them are even here tonight, and looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out throughout the time, that he's leading here. And then Hannah, the visual eye on that girl is absolutely phenomenal. Every video and photo you see comes from her eye. So I want you to know she is extremely talented. Pathway is very blessed to not only have her as someone who knows how to do that, but also knows how to teach and train others to do the same thing. So I want you to know you guys are very blessed to have such an incredible team of creatives. I learn from them. I've been doing ministry longer than at least Sam has been alive. And that's not joking at all, at least. And I'm still learning, and I want you to know, no one on this team feels like they've ever arrived. And so we want you to go into it with that same mentality. We are always learning. We've never arrived. There's always something that we could learn, even if it's just about our spiritual walk. There's something that we can learn to make us better in the next day than we were the day before. So teaching sessions are going to help us in that. So you'll walk in, we'll have worship, we'll have this teaching session, and then we'll break off from there. So most of the time, tech team will stay in here because that's where all the technical equipment is. So either in the booth or upstairs or one of the cameras, and Zach will determine how that happens. Worship, band, and singers, we will have various spots. Sometimes we'll be over here in the patio room. Sometimes we'll be over in the conference center. Sometimes band will be working over in the student area. Sometimes band will be working in here. But we'll let you know that week how we're going to split off and things like that. So, and then creative visual arts, Hannah's team Sometimes they'll be back in the back, sometimes they'll be in the lobby. She'll kind of let you know. But that will happen after our teaching session. So about 45 minutes of teaching, and then about 45 minutes of breakout is what we'll do every week. Let me preface this, because this is a leadership training, if possible, and if it's not possible, I need you to come talk to me. But we ask that you only miss two weeks throughout the entire semester. So if you can't commit to that, then we need to have a conversation. Because you can't train and learn if you can't be committed to doing it. So just know that going into it. If I get it, some people work, they're shift work, they're every other. Just talk to me. We'll figure some stuff out. I've talked with Zach. We're actually recording the sessions, the teaching sessions now. But the breakouts are where that rubber meets the road, where it's so important that you're in those groups learning and growing. But we can figure that out, but you got to communicate with me. So help me in that. That's kind of the overarching policy. Hey, miss 2 weeks, you're fine. Any more than that, we need to talk about that. The very back of the book, you'll see training objectives. So I encourage you, we're not going to spend a lot of time diving into each one of them, but what I'd like for you to do is look through that and find the area that fits your area of desire of training. So for instance, if you are looking at the band and you're an electric guitar player, if you're a drummer, bass player, MD, if you're a vocals, and all the way from tech to lighting, pro presenter, front of house audio, cameras, a video switcher, broadcast audio. Hannah's got stuff in here with video and film, all of those things. So whatever, find your area that you're trying to get plugged into, and get really acquainted with those objectives. That's what we love to see coming out of Ascend, for you to grab a hold of and really understand. And that's what this is for, to help you get to that point. So, Ascend. What is Ascend? Ascend is simply put together for musicians, singers, technical guys and ladies, creative guys and ladies, to understand what our role is in the local church. Sundays, you see a lot of people running around. You got cameras everywhere. You got people taking photography. You got band and musicians up here and singers, and it's a lot going on. But how do we get to that point? Because I promise you, we don't just walk in on Sunday and make it happen. There's a process that goes into it. There's some learning. There's some training. There's some rehearsing that goes into everything that we do. So I want to encourage you, jump into your book. We're on page 1. There are some fill in the blanks. Hopefully you have a pen, and I'd love for you to just kind of stay with us on that. I believe Zach's got some slides for us as well. But we're excited that you are interested in being a part of the creative arts ministry team here at Pathway, and we've put together this guide to help you. First, we want you to capture our vision for creative arts ministry. Capture the vision. We are big on understanding the why in which we do things here at Pathway Church. We can tell you the what all day long, but unless you understand the why and can connect with why we do things, we're never really going to get to your heart. And we want you to catch that vision. The second thing is, we want you to understand our expectations of team members. Every ministry has expectations. And this is an area, this Ascend small group is to help you understand what those expectations are, and not only to see you meet those expectations, but help you to meet those expectations. Some of these things you'll never learn on your own. You've got to go through an understanding of what we expect of you. And third, prepare for your desired field of ministry involvement. We want you to prepare. Look, many of you are either in school or have gone to school or have had some sort of training in your job. You didn't learn it overnight. It took a process, and this small group is a process, and even beyond this small group, it may continue to be a process. Again, like I said, none of us have ever arrived. We're constantly finding new ways to grow and to learn, and I'm no different than you are. The only thing different between you and me is I've been doing this a little bit longer. I'm a little bit ahead of the game, but other than that, we're still learning. And I'm going to learn from you in this process as much as you're going to learn from me. So we're going to do this together. So worship leadership. What does Pathway think about worship leadership? Anyone on stage or supporting those on the platform, whether they are a worship leader, a singer, a band member, is a leader of our church in some capacity. Consequently, we are interested in more than just musical or technical ability when we add someone to our team. When we assess someone to see if they are a good fit for our team, there are 3 controlling values we have. Number 1, they must have good character. You must have good character. We're going to dive into that a little bit more in a bit, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on these points. 2, they must be a part of our community or willing to become part of our community. We are a church. We believe a church is a family. We are the family of God. That's what the church is. We are put together for such a time as this for this specific reason. And because you are a part of that family, then you got to be involved. This is a community, and we want you to be a part of that. So let's just take. I'll probably say a lot from the worship side because that's kind of where I deal mostly. But all of these ministries feel the same way. We don't want you to show up just when you're scheduled. We don't want you to show up just when you're scheduled to play or to sing or to run a piece of equipment. We want you to be a part of this church, whether you're scheduled or not. This is your church family. Yes, we want you to serve. We want to give you that opportunity to serve. But your first goal as a believer is to fall more in love with Jesus than it is to fall in love with what you're doing for Jesus. So that is what we want you to focus in on. Become a part of this church community. And if you haven't gone through the Connect class or really become a member here, we want to encourage you to do that as well. 3, they must be competent and meet the standards we ask of our arts leaders. This is a difficult part of what we do in creative arts leadership, especially on the music side. There is a level of competency that we have to reach. There are 3, we'll call it tracks. There's 3 ramps to ascend. The first ramp is the off-ramp. There are 3 off-ramps. First off-ramp is you go through ascend, you're doing everything that we're asking you to do, you're meeting all the expectations, and we're going to start getting you to serve. You may already be serving, but we're going to ask you to continue to serve and continue to do what you do. The next ramp is, hey, you've gone through Ascend, we see potential, but you still need some more growth. We want to encourage you to go through it again. That's the next ramp. And the third ramp, and the hardest ramp, is, hey, I'm so grateful you've been through Ascend. Based on what we're sensing and what you're able to do, you're not meeting the level of expectations for that certain ministry. So we're not going to say you can't do ministry here. We're going to say, let's find the best ministry for you and your giftedness. And I want you to hear that because we believe everyone is useful for the kingdom of God, but not everybody is useful in singing on the front line. Not everybody is useful in running the front of house or the media stream. Not everybody is competent in being able to run the video switcher. That's just the reality of it. Does it mean you couldn't get there? Maybe, maybe not. But I do know this. If that's not the ministry for you, there is a ministry in the church for you. So know that, and know that we want you to find the best fit for you and for your giftedness. Our model for qualifications for leadership comes from the story of Joseph found in the Bible in Genesis chapters 37 through 50. How many of you know the story of Joseph, or have ever heard the story of Joseph? So he has a really great story. So his story started off in the fact that he was a kid, pretty immature as a kid, and he would kind of brag about his favoritism from his father. You've heard of Joseph in the coat of many colors. This was a gift that he got from his dad, and he'd put it on and he'd flaunt it around his brothers and they'd check out my jacket, y'all. That was his mentality, and his brothers hated him for it. And so when his brothers began to hate him for his immaturity, that led to some pretty bad things in Joseph's life. Joseph became a slave after his brothers threw him into a pit and then sold him to the house of Potiphar. And Potiphar was an important Egyptian official. Now Joseph, even in his immaturity, I'm sure he began to grow once he became a slave, but he began to be in charge of all of Potiphar's household. Then in the middle of all this, Potiphar's wife, she took a liking to Joseph and she decided to seduce him. And the good news is Joseph refused. Joseph said, that's not of God, that is not right. I'm running from that. However, in her sin, Potiphar's wife accused him anyway of coming onto her. So Joseph had this deep devotion to God. Internally, apart from support of family or spiritual leadership, he owned his relationship with God. So in this part of the story, here's the thing to grab for you as a leader. Similarly, we need team members who internally own their walk with God and their responsibilities as team members and who do not need constant supervision or micromanagement. Now, we're going to be coaching into the things that you're doing on a team. We want to coach you and show you good ways, better ways. Maybe you'll show us ways that we didn't even realize, but we want to be in that coaching mindset. However, when it comes to your spiritual walk, you've got to own that. You've got to own your spiritual walk. Joseph didn't have a dad anymore around, or his brothers, or anybody to help him walk with God. He's in a place, he's in Egypt now, where it was basically godless. But he still owned up to his relationship. He still recognized sin. He still understood what was right, what was wrong, and lived out his life accordingly, even when it cost him being a slave and being thrown into prison. So you are responsible for your spiritual walk. Again, we want to help you as best we can, but you are responsible for you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about exactly what that means when it comes to us as a team, as a family. So the second part of the story is after he spurned the advances of Potiphar's wife, he was put into prison, where he again proved to be a competent manager and rose to be in charge of the entire prison. He also proved to be an able interpreter of others' dreams. Through this period, Joseph used his gifts and abilities to serve others, not just to further his own ends. So similarly, our musical, technical, our leadership gifts have been given to us to build and serve the Pathway Church community of which we are a part of. So Joseph, not from his own doing, finds himself in prison. And even in prison, he finds ways to be useful for God and for God's kingdom. And he found the giftedness that he had. His giftedness was to be able to hear someone's dream that they couldn't understand. Why am I dreaming about this? And Joseph was literally prophesying what his dream was. This is what your dream is meaning. This is what is going to happen. And this is going to take him even further. So you are here at Pathway. You are a part of this family. You have a giftedness. You are here because you feel like your giftedness might be in the area of creative arts. And we hope that it is. We're praying that this is the area for you to jump in and be on board. And so what we want to do is we want to cultivate that and create the avenues, the lanes for you to be able to take that giftedness and use it however God is leading you to do. But you not only have to own your spiritual condition, your spiritual walk with God, but you have to own your giftedness. Only you are going to have the ability to sharpen your skills. Now, I wish we had the ability in Ascend to really get one-on-one with singing lessons or instrument lessons or things like that. And I encourage you, if you want to learn how to sing better or play better or take better photos, find someone that you can learn from one-on-one. We can't do that here. I wish we could. I wish we had the time to do that, to really get down to the one-on-one. This is going to be a very general teaching small group. But you are responsible for that. You're responsible for your giftedness. Whatever your giftedness is, Joseph knew what his was, and so he used his giftedness. Nobody was in there telling him, hey, Joseph, this is your giftedness. Now I need you to listen to his dream and interpret that dream and then come back and we'll coach into that dream a little. No, he said, you know what, this is my giftedness. I know exactly what you're dreaming about. This is what this means. And he took responsibility, he took control of that, and he made it work for him. Now, competence. Finally, a critical moment came. Joseph was called upon to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. So we already know he's using his giftedness to interpret dreams, but now Pharaoh's having these dreams. And Pharaoh is frustrated. He's like, I'm having these dreams over and over. I have no idea what they mean. And someone pipes up and goes, there's this kid over in prison. I think he might be able to help. I mean, can you imagine that scene? Like, they're talking about Pharaoh, basically king of Egypt, and they're having some prisoner that's an Israelite, which were enemies to Egypt, come and interpret the king of Egypt's dreams. Now, if Joseph didn't have these skills, if he had not developed these, would he have been able to do what was necessary in that moment? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the fact is, he continued to sharpen his skills. He continued to work on his abilities. And in the same way, in worship, our team members have to have the appropriate level of musical skill and technical skills to minister effectively. Everybody knows when there's a technical glitch on Sunday. It's evident to everybody in the room. I will tell you this though, there are things that happen behind the scenes that you have no idea that they happen, and we do. But you don't, and it looks very seamless. It looks like it's working out. And it's because we've got really competent people that know how to finagle their way around the issue and get back on track with what's going on. But we've got some really skilled people. But even in that skill set, even those people that know what they're doing, guess what? We still mess up. My voice still cracks in the middle of a song. The instruments don't always play the right notes. Right, Sam? I've got video of that. We'll have to play that. Yeah. Da, da, da. Sam's extremely talented, but even Sam messes up. Carrie Anna, extremely talented. She never messes up. I don't know what it is. There are photos that Hannah and her team do, and they post them out on Sundays, and we go back in and say, you know what, that's not the best photo for this. Let's pull that down. You would never know that, but with our expectations, with our level of expectations, there's a certain criteria we want to meet, and so we make those calls. Now, I will say this. This is a difficult ministry to be in. Very difficult. Why? First of all, this is creative arts. Artsy people are weird. We just are. I'm just going to be honest with you. We're weird people. Why are we weird people? Because we're very sensitive to certain things. We're very sensitive to the Spirit. We're sensitive to things being sometimes perfect, at least excellent, if not perfect. We're very sensitive to what we produce as artists, whether it be the song we sing or the instrument we play or the picture we take or the video that we create. We're sensitive to those because we have been in that creation process, and we have to be okay to hear back, to hear the coaching back say, that wasn't quite where we need it to be. Let's change this. Let's do it differently. That's sometimes hard for people to hear. But I need you to know the only time that we're going to say that is because we love you and we want you to be the best you can be. I want to be the best Kyle that Kyle can be. And I want people to be able to coach into me and say, hey, we could do this differently. We could change this up. We could not do this song and do this song instead. We could have this person sing this song instead of this person because it's gonna lead better with the testimony that they have in their life. All of these different things that can be coached into. You know what? That's not the best camera angle. Let's move to a different spot and get the better shot. Hey, that voice is too loud in the mix. Bring that down. I don't know if you're hearing that, but that voice is really not mixing well. Be okay. There are some people in the arts community, not at Pathway, thank the Lord, we have a really great heart here, but there are other arts communities, even in other churches, where the ego is bigger than the goal. And we don't have egos here. We're just not gonna have it. It's not about you. It's not about me. This is about all we can do to glorify the Lord and to see his name known at this church and in this community. And we're gonna talk more about that in vision. We put into priority sequence these values that can be thought of like a baseball diamond. Now, anybody not a baseball fan, or at least not know the basics of baseball? Does everybody know the basics of baseball? You know when you hit the ball, you run to what? You run to third base? See, this is why we go through this for Manny. No, when you hit the ball, you run to first base, right? You have to touch first base. Look, if you don't touch first base, you're out. Okay, you gotta touch first base. Character, look at me. Character is the most important thing about this team. Character. I don't care how good you are at your craft. If your character stinks, you're not gonna fit on this team. You're not. Oh my goodness, there's such an amazing guitar player. Oh my gosh, there's such a great singer. That's great. Have you seen their social media? Have you seen their attitude? Have you heard their language? Is that really what we want representing not only the church, but God? So all of these things are very important to us. Character is the most important thing. If we sense that your character is not where it needs to be, we're going to, what we call have a come to Jesus meeting and sit down and talk about that. All right, that happens. Second thing is after we establish that really good character, look, let me back up. Character, are we gonna mess up? Absolutely. Am I gonna say things I shouldn't say? Absolutely. My wife, I'm sure, has hundreds of stories of things that I probably shouldn't have said. You're gonna mess up. This isn't about standing over you with a whip and watching everything that you do and making sure that you stay in line. No, this is about a lifestyle of character. This is about a heart focused in on your worship to God. So character is the most important. After first base, you gotta go to second. You have to. It has to be, so you work on the individual and then you work on the group. So character's first, then we take that character and we build that into a community. So we have a bunch of different characters. We have a bunch of different people here that have different characters. Huh? Yeah. So we have a bunch of different people here that have really good character, and we're going to use that group, that whole team for one vision and one purpose. So we're going to move our individual character into the community to where we're going to do this together. And then comes the competence. Look, competence is third. You do realize that. Like, we want you to be good, but these other two things are even more important than how good you are at your craft or whatever you're doing. Because if these other two things aren't lining up, I don't care how good you are. I really don't. You could be, I'll just use it because Pastor used it this morning as a reference. You could be Beyonce and have horrible character and not want to be involved with us as a church. And it's not, I don't care. It's not going to work. It's not going to work here at Pathway. It may work at other places. It may work at other churches where you can go in, have that really good voice and live like however you want to live outside of the church. But that ain't going to work here at Pathway. It's just not. So with those three things, that comes together with leadership, with integrity. Your integrity is the most important gift that you have. Because without that integrity, we really have no testimony. We want to share Christ in everything that we do, whether it be through our music, through our tech, through our videos and photos. We want to share the love of Jesus. And if the person that's doing whatever said craft, if their lifestyle does not reflect loving Jesus, then they've ruined all of their credibility. They stand up here and they talk about or sing about I don't know, living for Jesus. Let's just say that that's what they're singing about. And the person out here is going, yeah, I'm pretty sure I just read a Facebook post that you made that had multiple words in it that should not be used. And that does not reflect Jesus. So how are you standing up there talking about living for Jesus, but your life doesn't reflect your words? See how important that is? You are now, welcome to the fishbowl. You are now in a fishbowl because now more people are going to know who you are now in this ministry than they did prior. And because they know who you are and because they know what you do, they're watching you. They're watching you. Your faith is just about to get lived out. And when it is, and people can see that faith lived out and they see it, honor him, honor God, then that helps them grow in their relationship with God. But when your words that you're singing or performing up here don't match the way you live outside of these walls, then not only are you ruining your credibility, you're ruining the staff of Pathways' credibility, you're ruining our congregation's credibility, and you're mocking God. And we're not about that. That's not how we roll. So that's why leadership with integrity is so important. This leadership with integrity paragraph, you can read that. We kind of just talked about all that. You got to run in order. You have to understand what integrity means. And we're going to go further into detail. Now, I'm not going to spend time on each one of these, but let's just talk about first base. First base, character. So what defines or what character defects are problematic in worship and tech or in creative? One of the things that is not really good with character is laziness. We got a lot of hard workers here at Pathway, a lot of hard workers. Laziness is just not a really good character. Viewing oneself as an exception to the rules. If you serve on a Sunday morning in the tech crew, one of the things that we ask you to do, and it's kind of a rule, is to be here for a rundown meeting at 8:40. Huh? And wear a black shirt. Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. And we're talking for tech. To wear a black shirt and to be here at 8:40 to be at rundown meeting, and that's the rule. And say you're rolling in at 8:55 and it becomes a weekly habit, and that's just when you're showing up and you're just going to your post and sitting down and you have no idea what's happening, you're just there. Is that really going to go over well? No. How about the rest of your team that sees that and they've been here maybe even before that? Maybe they were here at 7:30 for the initial meeting and they were here getting ready and getting things set up and put in place, and they were here for the rundown meeting, and they were here to hear the structure of the service and why it's flowing like it's flowing, and then you show up right at service time and think, I'm above that. That's not a good character. Having an attitude of prima donna, or if you're a guy, prima Donald. What is a prima donna? Huh? I'm the best. There is no one like me. I am the best at what I do. I can't be coached. I can't be taught. I have arrived. Bow at my feet. And we're just not going to have that. Oversensitivity. We talked about this a few minutes ago. We want to be able to coach into you, and you're going to have to be okay to be open to some truths about yourself. You haven't arrived. You're not perfect. You're able to be coached. Be open to that. Don't be overly sensitive. The inability to take instruction and or correction kind of goes in line with that. Avoiding work considered beneath them. I have watched senior pastors, we call them lead pastors here. I've seen Pastor Travis walk down a sidewalk, see a wrapper, a piece of trash on our parking lot, pick it up, and throw it away. The lead pastor. I've done it, and I've watched other staff members we're out of toilet paper in the bathroom. Where can I find some? They go get it, and they put it in there. We have people that can do that job. Sure. We have people that clean. Sure. But we're not above those jobs. We're not above that. And so don't ever think that you're above a certain task or a certain thing that we're asking you to do. Sinful lifestyle that dishonors God, we talked about that. Irritating, socially inept. Look, nothing is worse than someone who's irritating. We want to be team players. We want people to ask questions. We want people to be engaged with what's going on. But understand where you are in the moment. Understand the room. Understand the process. And don't be irritating or socially inept. Unreliable. Unwilling to submit to authority. Making it more about the show than about the presence of God. That just kind of goes back to it's not about you. So if those are the defects or the problematic things that we see about character, so what are we looking for in character? Reliability, humility, no agenda, coachable, teachable, understanding that we can all be replaced. Responds well to others, to correction, to mishaps. Responding to mishaps. We call this the duck on the water. When you look out on a lake and you see a duck, what do you see? Just kind of gliding along the water, right? You know what those feet are doing under the water? They're going crazy. That's how we want to create those moments, those times that we have those mishaps, that we could be freaking out and freaking everybody else out in the moment. We want to be that duck on the pond. We want to be like, it's okay, we got this. But internally you're going, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? You know, there are those moments where we're freaking out inside, but on the outward, we're like, no big deal, we got this. That's the kind of attitude we need to have in those moments. It's hard. That's a learned trait. I promise you it is. Good work ethic. Look, work hard. Whatever you're doing, do it to the best of your ability. Devotion to Jesus. God-honoring lifestyle. Understand and own the mission of Pathway Church. We'll talk about that in a minute. Tuned into the content of the service. Look, there's a lot of jobs around here, especially in the tech area and in the creative, video and photo area, where you're kind of down in it with your job. But the last thing we want you to do is to miss out on what the Holy Spirit is doing in the room to be able to focus on what you're trying to do for the Lord. We want you to spend time with the Lord more than we want you to do your work for him. Ultimately, our goal would be for you to not have to do a job or work every week. We'd love for you to be able to be on a rotation to where you don't necessarily have to. Some people can handle it well. I was blessed early on in ministry to be able to compartmentalize my leadership and my worship, especially once the service begins. Once the service begins, I'm listening to things, I'm listening to instruments and voices and making sure we're blending and all that stuff that's important. But well beyond that, I'm in my moment of worship at that point. I am not so consumed with everything else that I'm missing my moment in worship. Do you realize that I could be singing up there and leading with a guitar and still not be worshiping? Do you realize that you could be running the front of house audio system and getting everything fine-tuned and still not be in an attitude and a heart of worship? You could be on a camera finding the best moment to capture and still miss out on worship. We don't want you to miss out on what God's doing. We never want you to miss out on that. Tune in to what God's doing in the room. Tune in to what's being said and taught. Honesty, no excuses. I have worked with several staff members. I even worked with a staff member here. They are no longer here, so there's no reason to call out their name or anything like that. But their go-to was always to find that excuse. And I love the analogy that says, you know what excuses are? Poo with icing on it may look like a cupcake, but it ain't a cupcake, okay? That's what excuses are. They're covered up poo, all right? Because nobody cares about your excuses. Just own up to it. I messed up. Oh, well, so-and-so, if so-and-so hadn't done that, or if they'd have done their job better, then I could have done, no, just own up. Own up to your mistake. Be honest with yourself and with others, and don't have the excuses. Be selfless. Be selfless. There is going to be somebody at this church or wherever that's better at what you do than you do. There's going to be people that aren't as good at what you do than you do. But we want to give everyone the opportunity to do what they do. Noah, you're becoming an incredible drummer. But guess what? There's always going to be a better drummer. And then once you get older and get even better, there's going to be people that are coming up under you that they're not going to be as good. But does that mean Noah gets to drum just because we have these people that aren't as good? No, of course not. We want them to have the opportunity to get better. We want to be selfless. Could I sing every male song that is presented here at Pathway? Sure. Is that really going to help anybody grow or learn? No. Could Carrie Anna lead every soprano solo? Absolutely. But that's not going to let anybody grow. Be selfless. Be selfless. So here's some questions to consider. And we're not going to answer these out loud, but I want you to consider them. Think about them when it comes to you and what we're looking into doing. Why do you want to be a part of this team? Why do you want to be a part of this team? Is it to be seen or heard? What does it mean for a leader to be coachable? What does it mean to be hardworking? And do you consider yourself hardworking and coachable? We saw this list of positive and negative qualities. What's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? What are maybe some things that you could work on in those areas? Guess what? I feel like I've got pretty good character, but there's some things in this list that I could work on. But there's some things that I'm really good at too. Find your strength. Know what your strength is, but also know what your weakness is. Your weaknesses are going to keep you humble. But it's also going to allow you to surround yourself with people that are strong in your weakness. I am not a tenor. I'm what they call a baritone. No, not really. A baritone is just under tenor. So I don't sing like really, really high. I can hit some notes, but I'm not. A few months ago, we had a guy on staff named Nathan DeBoer. He was a tenor. Dude could float to the atmosphere with his voice. It was incredible, great talent in that area. I couldn't sing the songs that he sang or in the keys that he sang them in. If we find a song that's done by a group named Leland, and he's basically an alto male, then we have to bring that key down to where men can actually sing it or have an alto sing it because we're not in that range anymore. I know where my weaknesses would come, where they are with that. And so we have to be able to adapt. What is your relationship with God like? Have you thought about that? Have you taken personal inventory of your relationship with God? Because beyond serving on this team, that is the most important thing at Pathway Church is what is your relationship? I love what Pastor says. I'm not who I was, but I'm not who I'm going to be. So we're all in this process. We're all growing in this. So I'm not asking you to be the perfect Christian, but I am asking you to be one that's willing to work towards being better than you were the day before. Are you close to God or are you far away? I think even every believer in here could say there's been times I've been far away from God. I have. I would assume that you have in your life and in the things that you have dealt with and the struggles that you've had. We've had those moments where we haven't been far away, but we maybe have felt far away from God. So God says he never leaves us or forsakes us. He's always there. Sometimes that feeling that you feel like, man, he's just a long way away. And maybe it's just us. If you died tonight and stood before God to be judged, would you be frightened or confident? And why? We want you to live long, wonderful lives. But none of us know the time or day that we will meet the Lord. And in that moment, If you were to die tonight, would you feel confident standing before God, or would you feel frightened? Maybe about what he knows about you, or maybe the fact that you haven't given your life to Christ. I want to believe everyone in this room has had that moment where they've accepted Christ and given their life over to him as their Lord and Savior. If you haven't done that, do not leave this. Do not leave this room without talking to me, because that is the most important thing you can do. So, who is speaking into your life? Do you have a mentor? Other than a parent, do you have someone that you look up to, that you want to get wisdom from, get knowledge from, learn what they do and how they do it? When we're going through this, you're going to meet some leaders. You're going to meet some people that can do what they do better than how you can do it. Are you willing to say, hey, help me, mentor me, coach me? Not only in your craft, but who's speaking into your life spiritually? Is it only someone who stands on the pathway platform speaking into your life about your relationship with God? I pray not. I pray that's not your only exposure to God's word. Find someone that you can have that relationship with, that time to grow together. The Bible gives the verse and it says, I had a mental block. Iron sharpens iron just as one man sharpens another. So when you are taking swords or knives and you're trying to sharpen them, you take iron against iron to make it sharper, to make it work better. Same way with us as humans. And when we're gritting against each other, sometimes it's not comfortable. Sometimes that accountability is not comfortable. Sometimes it's hard to hear the truth about yourself. Sometimes it's hard to hear, hey, Kyle, you got to do better at this. Hey, Kyle, you got to own up to this. Hey, this isn't really great for you and your character. Be better. Be better. If I can have someone in my life that can show me that, can love me through those things, those are the people that I need in my life. We don't always need people in our life that are going to pat us on the back and say, it's all right, you'll do better next time. No, we need people in our life to be honest with us and look for those opportunities. Not only have someone in your life, but be that for someone else as well. How much need do you have for attention? If we needed you to sit out for a season, say 2 or 3 months, how would you respond to that? Well, why would you ask me to do that? Well, maybe we understand or recognize or realize that your spiritual condition is not where it needs to be, and that needs to be something you need to work on for a few months. That's okay. I've had people, even recently in this ministry, in the worship ministry, that have said, you know what, I need to work on me for a few weeks. I need to sit out. And we got to be okay with that. I am always going to tell you, you and your family are your first ministries. What we do here comes well after that. Your relationship with God, your relationship to him and your relationship to your family come way before anything we do here at Pathway. Work on those first. You can't serve others if you can't even serve yourself. So make sure that you are strong in your faith. Make sure you're strong in your walk with Christ, because then God wants to use you. Now, does that mean we can't hurt and serve at the same time? That's not even possible. Carrie Ann and I, before she got pregnant, walked through a really rough year. Some Sundays are really hard, but we had to walk through that, and we still had to serve. That's gonna happen. Sometimes you're gonna walk through rough patches, and you're still gonna be asked to serve. But if it ever comes to a point where you are not healthy as an individual, and I'm talking physical health, I'm talking mental, spiritual health, emotional health, then step aside until you are ready to come back and serve as a strong person. All right, so now we're moving on to second base. We are a team, If you're a part of Pathway, you're one of us. Creative Arts, we are a close-knit group. Everyone in this team helps the other person. I can't do what I do, and our worship leadership can't do what they do if Zach and his team aren't doing their job well. If we aren't positioned where we need to be or playing like we need to play, then Hannah can't grab the videos and the photos that she needs to put out on social media or wherever they're putting them out. We have to all be up on our game and doing our best in order for the other ministry to succeed. If the altos are not singing the part right and they're completely off key, there is absolutely nothing Zach's going to be able to do back there to fix that other than mute them or turn them off, which sometimes is a good thing. So he can't do his job well back there if we can't be rehearsed in doing ours well also. We don't want players just to play. We don't want tech people just to run a piece of equipment. We don't want camera people just to point a camera or find the good shot. We don't want photographers just to capture that moment. We don't want video people just to find the best video spot or whatever you want to call it. We don't want players who just play and exclude themselves from the life of the church. Your number one goal is not to come here and to use your giftedness. Your number one goal is to come and become a better Christian, better believer than you were the week before. We desire for Creative Arts team members to move toward church membership, which means believing in Christ, being baptized, going through Connect class. Some ministries at Pathway Church require membership and or a background check. If you've ever worked in kids ministry, you've had to have a background check to do that. It's just the reality of where we are. We don't require that you go through Connect class to be in creative arts. We really strongly encourage that. In fact, we would wonder why you haven't. A matter of fact, between summer and fall, I give the choir a break in those weeks to go through Connect class so they have no excuse not to go. So say they came and joined the choir, and then once they're in choir, it's like, well, they're on Wednesday nights, I can't go to Connect class. Aha. But after the summer small group before the fall begins, we always have 4 weeks of Wednesdays there that you can go to Connect class, and we break choir, we stop, so that there is no excuse for someone not to go through that. So I would encourage you, if you haven't done that, if you haven't gone through Connect class, please do. Why? Who has been through Connect class? Incredible. Stand up and tell us what's the most valuable thing you learned in Connect class. Yeah.
Came over here got connected with this. I don't know, this is just a different, I'd say really, but this is just a different atmosphere. It's a different group of believers and the way they believe, the way they worship. We learned Freddie and Chris and Paul, Pastor Paul. They were our instructor during the time, moment I was with, and they just gave a lot of insight about the church itself and the organization of the whole pathway community, not just this church, but the other pathways. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. You really, it's really good. But learn what I know.
Well, what you know helps you serve better after knowing about the church and our purpose. You also learn about yourself too. Don't you take a spiritual inventory test and kind of know your giftedness as well. You learn about the different ministries and how to get plugged in to those as well. This is Neil. If you haven't met Neil, this is Neil. Say hi, Neil. Hi, Neil. Thanks, Neil. Go through Connect class if you haven't. Really encourage you to do that. You'll learn a lot about who we are, why we do what we do, where we've been, where we're going as a church, and you'll even learn how to get plugged in to the best ministry for you and have that opportunity to do so. Flip over to the page you see the vision of Pathway Church. It's a couple pages over, maybe one page over. The vision of Pathway Church, say it with me, for God and our, how many of you knew that before coming to this class? Good, you've been listening. Our vision is for God and our city. Okay, so how does that break down to our vision of creative arts? Well, in order to break that down or give the why, it's a little bit longer, but hold on to this. Pathway Church Creative Arts Ministry, under the umbrella of the gospel and the vision of Pathway Church, exists to lead our church to worship Jesus through spiritually engaging weekly services at any and all campuses. Let me pause there. Any and all campuses. That doesn't just mean Sundays at Moffitt and Sundays at Airport. That means young adults. That means students. That means kids. That means off-campus opportunities. Anytime we have the ability to lead our people visually, creatively, and in worship, we want to do that, to have engaging services at any and all campuses. It also means that there could be future growth, and God's going to give us more campuses one day. We pray that happens. But until then, we're going to do whatever we can do with what we're given and use our giftedness in those areas. After and all campuses, to train worship leaders who are humble, spiritually vibrant, biblically faithful, and musically excellent, to enable technical creativity at its highest level of excellence, and to share the gospel outside the walls of the church through personal lifestyle, social media, live stream, recordings, and worship events. So if we are for God in our city, our number one goal is to create environments that people can grow in spiritually. And then beyond that, we want to give people the opportunity to engage in the gospel outside the walls of this church, whether it's through the personal lifestyle of the speaker or singer, through the social media content that we put out. How many of you have ever been inspired by something you've seen Pathway put out on social media, whether it be a photo or a video or a story? Have you been inspired by some of that? That's our goal. Did you feel like you connected with God in a different way sometimes in those moments? Absolutely you did, and I have as well. I've been down in the middle of getting that stuff, that content out there, and I'm still walking away changed. I can't tell you how many times we as a team have gone into tears over watching something being created and knowing what impact that's going to make once it leaves the office and goes out on social media. Man, that's inspiring to us. We only want to put out things that are going to inspire people. Did we have service on Sunday? Yeah, we could document that and, hey, guess what? We had service. There it is. No, it's beyond the documentation. Inspiration is our goal. Our live stream. We have gone through a great deal in the last year and a half to fine tune our live stream. And we're still tuning it. We're still tuning it up. We're still trying to get it better and better, not only with the cameras, but also the audio. We're trying to get better at what we do in that area. There were seasons when it did not go well with our live stream, our videos or our audio. But lately, putting some equipment behind it and putting some really skilled people behind it, including Zach and the team, we're really dialing in on making sure that we believe that we have a campus called Online Campus, because there are people that only watch us online. And COVID even impacted that more, because we have a congregation that still doesn't feel safe to come to church. And you know what they do? They watch from home. They watch from their phones. They watch from their TVs. We have people that go to church in Arizona. And where do they go to church? They go to Pathway Church right on their devices. And they're leading small groups now online for Pathway Church. We have people that are watching overseas. People from Cambodia. People from Jerusalem or Bethlehem. Huh? Jerusalem? Both, sure. They're over there. Israel, that's right. They're over there. They're watching Pathway every week. We have a campus that you may never meet, but they're being engaged with every week because they're online watching our services. Why do you think we look into the camera and say, thank you for joining us online? It's not because we want to be known or seen. It's because we know we have a campus that's watching, and they want to be inspired just like the people in the room. If they can be inspired on screen, imagine what's going on right here in the room. That's pretty great. Yeah. We're not going to go through the third base. You see the competence, what we're asking for each level. I'm going to finish up here in the next 7 minutes with the expectations for all members. This is your book. You don't have to turn this in. This is just for you and for your records and your knowledge and your commitment. At the bottom of this, you'll see a sign and date, and which means you promise to follow these expectations, not only through Ascend, but even after, once you have found the ministry area that fits you. You have to attend Ascend for at least one semester. We have not made it mandatory for tech and visual creativity to go through Ascend. We're trying to get to that level. However, when it comes to worship, it is mandatory, at least for our frontline and band, that you go through Ascend one semester. You have to. It is mandatory. You will never see someone singing on the front line who has not been through Ascend, or at least going through Ascend. If you have never had a one-on-one with myself, with Zach, with a campus leader, whether it be Jonathan from Worship Leader Airport or Pastor Chad, I want to encourage you in the next semester, through this semester, schedule a time just to sit down and talk with them. There's, like I said before, there's not going to be a whole lot of time to get one-on-one in this room. But take some time, if you can, to sit down with them, share your story, share your heart, share your passion, and get to know them, and because they want to get to know you as well, including myself. If you are a musician, we need you to purchase a set of dependable in-ear monitors. If you don't know what in-ear monitors are, I will send you links, or talk to Sam, and he can help you as well. But you have to have a set of in-ear monitors as a musician through Ascend. How many of you are already serving in a ministry that uses Planning Center? Okay. If you are scheduled or being scheduled, you need to be able to check Planning Center regularly. Do not wait till Saturday to confirm that you can be there for the service on Sunday. You don't know, this gray right here is because of people like you who wait till Saturday to let me know whether or not you're gonna be there. Look, it helps our sanity to know that we're gonna have our teams. Look, things happen on Saturday, you get sick, you can't make it, that stuff happens, I get that. But if you're just not, because you're not, I don't know. Put the notification on so you have that ugly red dot on your app. It won't go away until you accept or decline, okay? Help us out. Even if it's a decline, you're not gonna hurt our feelings if you decline. There have been times I've seen someone decline and go, oh, what did I do to hurt their feelings? But that's typically not the case. And they even give you reason for declining. You can put your reason for declining there. It's okay. You're not gonna hurt our feelings if you have to decline. But that lets us know and gives us time to fill that spot if possible or if needed. So help us out there. Confirm or decline your Planning Center invites promptly. Underline promptly. Be on time for rehearsals on Wednesday night and sound check on Sunday. This mainly goes for musicians, for singers. We have choir and we have frontline rehearsal. Rehearsals for frontline are only scheduled, are only for those that are scheduled for that week. So if we have a frontline rehearsal on Wednesday night, those that are coming to that rehearsal are only the ones that are singing on that Sunday. All vocals must be in a worship leadership position on Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, which means some of our leaders aren't in adult choir. That's okay. But if you aren't serving in students or another area, then you need to be in adult choir. These are just for singers. And the good news is, we have the ability to have Airport and Moffett, go through Ascend, which is wonderful. Commitment and faithfulness and attendance off the platform. Now, I say platform, that really means any ministry area. And we kind of talked about this, about being part of the community. If you're not scheduled because the position has been filled for that week, that does not give you the excuse to miss church. Don't miss church if you're not scheduled. Come to church. Those that are serving regularly, they notice that. People notice that. They only show up when they're scheduled. Why? Well, that's not really fair. And that begins to be negative. And that can sow really a negative spirit in the community and in the family that Satan would love to get in there and just put that little bit of negativity in there. Now, be faithful even when you're not scheduled. Your being scheduled does not, it doesn't mean that that's when you attend church. I want to talk about this for another minute. Your lifestyle and social media should reflect Christ and Pathway Church. I believe if you have social media, I believe I'm friends with most of you in here. Unless you're an Auburn fan, then I don't like you at all, Robert. But if I'm not your friend, there's someone in this group that is. And or there's someone in the church that is. This is what I want to say to that. Look, what you say reflects your heart. And if your heart is not honoring, and if your heart is not, especially if it's not Christ-like, it's going to be really difficult for us to allow you to lead in ministry, whether it's on this platform or even if it's upstairs, behind the scenes. We want you to be a picture of Pathway Church. We want you to be a picture of Christ. The whole idea of the Christian walk is to become more and more like Jesus every day. Again, we understand that we mess up. We're going to say things we don't mean. We're going to need to apologize. We're going to need to make things right. But if your lifestyle outside of these walls, and if your lifestyle as it's portrayed on social media does not reflect Christ, you will not be asked to serve. You just won't. Next, I want to encourage you to pray. Pray for our ministry. Pray for the creative arts ministry. Pray for our church. Pray for our impact in our community. As we just talked about before, our community goes well beyond Sims or Mobile or Saraland, or even Baldwin County. Our ministry impact goes around the world. Pray for that. Pray for the ability to inspire people to be more like Christ. Pray for your leaders. Pray for your pastors. Pray for our church. Now, if you read these and you're like, I can commit to the standards that are given to me in this manual, then I encourage you to sign that and date it. And just as a reference for you and your commitment to say, I can be in this ministry, I can support this ministry, I can live up to these expectations. And if you can't, and you're like, you know what, there's something on that list I can't live up to, I can't follow that. Come talk to me, and let's find a way that you can. Let's find a way through that. I believe you can, though. I believe each one of us can. I think if the fact that you're here already shows your ability to want to be better, not only as a creative, but also as a Christian, as a person. So that is it for today as far as that is concerned. I want you to, again, put your name on it, take this book home, This is your book. You are going to have this book from now until December, whatever the date is of the end of Ascend. Couple things to think about between now and the end of the term of this semester. Number one, there's several dates that we're not going to be having Ascend. The first one would be October 31st. We have an event here at church called Trunk or Treat. That is an all church event. So there will be no small groups that day. So no Ascend that night. The Sunday after Thanksgiving, we will not have Ascend. We will the week before. We will the Sunday before Thanksgiving, because many people are still either in work or in school up until the middle part of that week. So, but the Sunday after, because a lot of people, once they're out, they kind of go on vacation or go out of town. We don't want you to feel like you have to rush back to be in Ascend that week. So those 2 weeks, as of right now, those are the only two. But the October 31st and whatever that Sunday is after Thanksgiving. November 28th. Thank you. So so basically the two last Sundays of the month of October and November, we will not have Ascend those weeks.